Welcome back to Reinvention by Design. Today's conversation is about something many successful leaders are experiencing. That moment when the path you've been on suddenly shifts and you're forced to rethink what comes next. My guest today, Thana Balasingam, spent over 2 decades building a highly successful career in the technology industry, rising to vice president and general manager at VMware, where she led large-scale business operations and teams across Asia-Pacific and Japan. But at the peak of her career, experienced what she calls a careerquake, a redundancy that forced her to confront questions around identity, purpose, and what success really meant on her own terms. What followed wasn't just a career move, it was a complete reinvention. Today, is the co-founder and CEO of the Elevate Group and a leading voice on helping women build confidence, visibility, and more intentional careers. She's also the co-founder of Lean in Singapore and the host of the podcast Raw with where she explores the reality of ambition, identity, and life transitions. In this conversation, we go behind the scenes of her journey and also explore personal branding, reinvention in midlife, the future of women's leadership, and why authenticity may become one of the most important leadership qualities of the future. Yeah. Very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'd love to start by taking you back to your career quake and that moment when your role was made redundant. You've talked very, very openly about what that was like in terms of, loss of identity and just the experience of that change. Maybe talk to us about how that was.
Yes. So firstly, this is my second redundancy, and I kind of knew it was coming. I didn't know when it was coming, and I had somewhat planned for it, and I planned for it with the next big job already on paper, agreed on, but not signed. And so I remember when I was working at another tech company and we were acquired by a company you worked for, Dell, and that was EMC. And I watched my boss get this redundancy package and then went to the next big job. And I was like, someday that's going to happen to me. And then it happened to me, right? And so there's even a picture of me that I put up on LinkedIn.
I remember it. You were signing the papers.
Yes, I had HR from VMware and HR from Broadcom.
Yeah.
And I signed, and then I said, will you take a picture? They were like, what? It's like, yes, I'd like a picture. I'm actually really happy. It was a genuine smile with the paper. And I posted on LinkedIn because I wanted to normalize this stigma. Yeah. And I think people think that maybe senior people don't get fired or made redundant, but they do. And I knew there was a wave that was going to come in the company. So I felt, as the highest ranked leader, to go first in Asia. I don't know, I felt this sense of responsibility somewhat. And I wanted to make it as if actually there is grace behind an exit. Yeah. It's all about how you approach it. What I talk about in terms of a career quake includes the grief that comes after it. And my theory is that behind anything that you love, there is grief. And I loved every minute, every day of my career. I loved it. I loved the politics of it. I loved, the unnecessary meetings, the 192 days of traveling. They were all part of the experience, and I actually loved it. I loved the hard decisions I had to make. It was just an amazing time. So.
And I guess it was part of your identity as well.
Oh, very much, right? I mean, you spend so many hours at work. I always had this mental image of clutching the door, opening to walk into the office on the 31st floor. And I think when you are an underrepresented minority, in whatever shape or form that might be, but you don't see a lot of people who look like you, stepping into the door is always stepping on stage. right? But I loved it.
So when things changed, what was the hardest part for you?
How quiet it was. Shockingly quiet it was. I remember
Used to being so busy, right?
Yeah, and how many emails would you get a day? Like, how many emails would you get?
Of course. Hundreds.
Yes. And suddenly it was actually no emails. No matter how many times you refresh your Outlook or, and so how quiet it was and how many people actually reached out. And I think those were two big lessons.
How did you feel about the loss of sense of identity? For example, I've heard you say when you'd be invited to speak on stage, you would not know how to
introduce myself.
Introduce yourself. Yeah. What did that feel like at the time, and how did you move on from that?
2 years plus in, I don't know if I've moved on, because if you ask me to introduce myself right now, I might have something to say, but it's still forming in my head.
Right.
And I remember my first networking event right after I signed. And it was not an industry event. It was multi-industry. It was an evening event, and it was at an embassy. So you can imagine the people that were there. Yep. And then somehow a circle formed around me, and somebody had this great idea. Let's go around and introduce ourselves. So I didn't think anything of it until I started noticing how every single person introduced themselves. And it is the standard.
By their title.
Yeah. My name is Karen. And
my
I'm
title is
the CMO of company name.
Yes.
So it came to me, and I think I kind of just mumbled something. I'm Uma, and I think I latched on to my lean in title, and I didn't say my tech title, or maybe I blurted out like I'm currently on my exit from VMware as vice president of, I don't know, I mumbled something for like a good minute until I was stopped.
I think it's really great that you're so open about how it felt, because often when people move on from a corporate environment, you see the before and the after, and you don't really understand what the middle was like.
The messy middle.
The messy middle, right?
And it's very messy.
It's painful.
Yes.
You have to peel the onion a little bit to understand who you are as well.
Yes. And also what a lot of people don't know is the lens behind the life of that person.
Yeah.
And in my double-click version, I am also navigating a separation while I'm going through a redundancy. So, well, I guess, when it rains, right? So, and I think the biggest thing that probably helped is just knowing that I had a good tribe that would not tell me what I needed to hear necessarily, but just to sit next to me. I needed to tell people. I remember Jingjin, who you interviewed, who's my business partner for the Elevate group. We were just starting to build out. It was our first meeting. After I signed the redundancy paper and after I knew I was going to get separated, we were at my dining table, and I just looked at her and I said, I got to tell you something. It's going to be unexpected. And she's like, okay. And then the tears came. I'm getting separated. And I think I can work today. I'm going to try. But I need you to know that this is happening. And I don't want you to be, shocked or anything like that. Or if I seem off, this is probably why. I'm working through it, but you should know. And I think when you build a business together and you have a partner, they're almost like your work wife, the transparency is important, no matter how difficult it is for the words to come out of your mouth.
It's so important to have the right people around you at these moments.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It sounds like you had Jingjing, but also you had other people, no doubt, that you relied on.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey, because let's face it, when you're in corporate, you do not learn how to be an entrepreneur. You don't learn it at school. You don't learn it at university. So to suddenly be in that new space, I mean, how did you go about it? How did you learn about entrepreneurship? Who did you talk to? How did you get started?
I think this is the biggest misconception about people at corporate. I think we assume we don't have any entrepreneurial skills, but I think we have a lot of it. Just think of any new idea that you had to start from zero to test cheaply and then take to market and then get buy-in, right? It may not be your money, right? It's the company's money. There's a form of safety net around you. But anytime you had to ideate something and then figure out how to take it to market and see if it worked or not, and then if it did work, how do you sell it to more customers, right? All the iterations that needed to happen if this thing kept working or if this thing failed in the first year, what did you have to pivot to? And I think I had a lot of that in the corporate world, just not with my own money. And I've spoken openly about how I've wasted $100,000 in my first year of making very expensive mistakes. So I would say the biggest lesson is that I went in with a lot of ego. I mean, how can you manage such a big P&L and not figure out your own business, right? I could not fathom being wrong. And so,
but it is so different. It's so different because we're used to taking businesses and scaling them, but not necessarily starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So it is different. And you don't have the same level of resources. You don't have the same team around you.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part of it for you?
Being wrong. Yeah, just being wrong.
Big learning.
Yeah, I've been reading business magazines since I was 9. So, but I was smart enough to know that midway through, maybe this thing wasn't going to work out. The first idea we had, right? What you see of Elevate now was not the original one. Actually, you had a peek on the original idea of the private network. So then I think the best question to ask at the end of year one of any new business that you're building yourself is, am I making all of the right mistakes and doing the right things that will give me the right learnings to pivot in year 2? I think that is the measure of success versus what people were asking me after year 1 was, so are you making any money?
Instead it's about, are you able to learn fast, right? Fail fast, learn, build.
Yes.
And there's something about entrepreneurship because in corporate you want things to be not necessarily perfect, but do you know what I mean? You want things
the PowerPoint
to,
slides.
everything needs to look good, be good. You want to have the best results, all the rest of it. But entrepreneurship is not like that.
It's scrappy and cheap.
Yeah.
It's the best way to do it.
And it doesn't need to be perfect.
Yes. Well, you from a marketing background might find it harder than me, the perfectionist salesperson. I mean, I would look at things and go, really? Like, this is what we're launching? But you figure out very quickly that people actually don't care. They just want to consume. If there's value, good value behind the product.
And the outcome you can bring.
Exactly. That's what they want, not the cover of the front page of a PDF or, YouTube thumbnail or, stuff like that. Yeah.
So how has it changed you being an entrepreneur?
So firstly, I think people confuse the word entrepreneurship with maybe you register a private limited and put your name against it.
A little bit more to it than that.
Yes. And also the word founder is thrown around a lot because you're the first person or maybe the only person. And also self-employed is a whole other thing, right? So I think when we talk about entrepreneurship, it is really, I don't know if you get to it necessarily in year 1, really depends on your business, but it gets to a certain stage where you are building products, you test it cheaply, you take it to market, you fail, you reiterate, you scale, right? All of those elements come together in entrepreneurship. And I think I'm a multi-hyphenate entrepreneur because I dabble in a few things. Right. I have a nonprofit plus for-profit businesses. I have a business for women, but also for everyone. I also do content around all of it. I also speak and I write, right? So I think there's a few ways to think about entrepreneurship, but it's really the business skill. And I see that for a lot of women, putting money at the center of it is a tricky thing. And it's the one thing I had to work through as my own struggle and relationship with money.
When you moved from corporate, you're used to having, your regular paychecks, and entrepreneurship, you've got to have a certain runway plus you're spending your money to be building.
Yes.
What did you learn about yourself during that process?
I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I don't know about you. I had blue collar parents.
Yeah,
Same. Yeah, my mom was a nurse, dad was a mechanic who stopped working. And so money was very scarce. In fact, my first relationship with money is my mom pointing the electricity bill to me and saying, we're spending too much on electricity. She was the breadwinner, and she was earning 1,200 ringgit, which is like 500
Nothing.
US dollars for a family of 4. And so there was always this scarcity notion.
Yeah.
Right? So when I left corporate, I was earning 7 figures, and I had never bothered to check my credit card statements. I just paid them every month. And so one of the best things I did for myself when I left, and I encourage everybody to do this, is for 30 days, track every single dollar of your spending.
You probably spend more than you think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't care if it costs $1 or $10,000, but for 30 days, just track every single thing you're spending money on. And I still do this till today.
Yeah.
And so you can actually see where the money is going. And there were so many subscriptions that I was not using that I had to cancel. And so I came up with 3 numbers for myself. One is the bare minimum that I need every month just to survive, and the basic necessities, right? I also support my sister, for example, electricity, water, all the fundamentals, rent, maybe a little bit of travel, etc., groceries, right? The bare minimum. And then I have a second number, which is kind of a little bit more comfortable. And then I have my third number, which is what is my definition of a rich life, which includes flying in front of a plane, drinking great wine, stuff like that.
I know you love your wine.
So that was one of the first things I did, to have 3 numbers for myself. And I didn't know or care what these numbers were when I was in corporate.
But you have to know your number.
You have
if your
to know your
situation
numbers.
changes.
Yeah. And I think women are very uncomfortable with numbers. At least I was. I don't know about you.
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am. So I think this, like your own P&L before you run your own business P&L, is so important.
Yeah. I think for me, because I did grow up with scarcity, that it's always been something top of mind for me. So I plan ahead quite well, I think. So,
Yeah. And then obviously you adjust your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You figure out what your runway is because now you have those numbers.
Yeah.
And then you can figure out, okay, what to do with that.
How long do I have? How much?
Yeah.
What do I need to make in my business?
If your business isn't working out as it should, do you have other income streams that you could potentially do if you really don't want to go back to corporate, for example?
And actually, it's an important lesson for people in corporate that they need to be thinking about having alternative income streams even while they're in a role.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So important, whether it's from property or stocks or side hustle, so critical. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's not uncommon anymore to be let go from your job, right? We're living
Not
in the
uncommon
age
at
of
all.
disruption. And so I think people should expect to be disrupted at any time.
Yes.
And so if you get served those papers tomorrow, do you know what you're going to do?
Do you have a plan
if you're
for your
sorted,
reinvention?
sure, financially, right?
Yeah.
If you're sorted, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you're a woman who's dependent on somebody and you don't have your own money, I think that's another risk.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you and I are breadwinners.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of women depend on income, and it's harder. It's a different conversation to have then. Yeah.
It is. So lots of lessons learned by the sounds of it. And has your attitude to money changed as a result of this?
Yes, I've had to do a lot of therapy on this because there's obviously deeply rooted fear around it, and completely unrelated to money. It stems from different aspects of my childhood, so that has helped greatly. And it's also good to have best friends that sometimes I want to spend money on something, like I have this painting in my house that you've seen, and I slept many nights over it, and I really, really wanted to buy it. And my best friend Yana said, because it's this 16 blocks, you can buy them separately, and I wanted all 16. And had I had a corporate job, I would not be thinking twice about this, right? And so she said, why don't you just buy 9? I was like, just 9? Really? So I said, okay, yes. Okay, let me think about it. And then I got 9. But I think there's this balance between, I don't know if you find this for yourself, but every time I decide to let go and spend the money anyway, somehow it comes back. You know, my friend Rita would say it's a currency.
Yeah.
So
Just energy flowing.
yeah. So I think you are always talking to the universe and the universe is always talking to you. So if you are sending a message of scarcity, then that is probably what's likely flowing back to you. I'm not saying go out and spend on everything you want to, but I think this letting go of fear and trusting that you're going to be okay.
That abundance mindset.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that it's not scary. I bet it's really scary for you, right? Like, I mean, I'm in my more than 2 years now, and it's very scary about, well, how long can I keep doing this for, you know, or do I succumb and go back to corporate?
Because it takes a while for the business to build.
At least 10 years. I think you got to give it at least 10. Yeah, for anything.
Coming back to the business for a minute, we're obviously in the age of AI, and you've talked about how you're using AI within your own business and how it's really benefiting you. Maybe you can touch on that and what you're doing and how that is changing the life of entrepreneurs today.
Look, I think the most basic AI thing anybody can do right now is to do voice-to-text transcription. You know, the amount of time it saves you is humongous, right? Whether I'm on WhatsApp with you this morning, whether I'm dictating a LinkedIn post, whether I'm writing a newsletter, I'm giving instructions or prompting, everything is voice to text. I am very hardly typing anything. So that's the first step. When I first started, I was using AI like everybody else, right? Polish up this email. Oh, I want to create a one-pager about this, you know, write this newsletter. Here's the content, you know, here's the transcript of a podcast. What's the thumbnail? Eventually, it progressed, and very recently, I have started using agents and sub-agents. So I have one that's doing my P&L every month, all my numbers. Awesome. So I can pump in all my statements, and it has a format that we've agreed on. I call him Marcus. Marcus has a team. And, you know, there's a team on credit cards, there's a team on bank accounts. I also have assistant that looks at my Gmail. You know, for example, my Wi-Fi bills is something that I put towards my own private limited. And so I could say to Priya, my assistant, to go into my Gmail, download all of the Wi-Fi bills in PDF form, and then I can just copy and put it into a drive so that my accountant can put it against my expense. And then on a more sophisticated level, you know, I write on LinkedIn a lot, so, you know, analyze over 700 posts and figure out which one is high save content, if I wanted to reuse again, and then just analyze, you know, what are great stories that are performing or not performing and why. And I have one on commercial logs, very good for entrepreneurs. Because when I do content, I want to know if the content is leading to anything. And so my biggest platform is LinkedIn. And if somebody sends me a DM that day, it's very likely related to the post I wrote that day. And sometimes they mention it. And so if they say something or ask something, I log it. I just copy and paste their information into AI, and it will put this into this spreadsheet. And I'll give you an example, okay, of one. And this is the power of social media. I just completed this community event called Walk the Talk. You were at it.
Yes, I was at it. It was awesome.
And Walk the Talk is a platform. We ran it for 3rd year in a row now, where we bring powerful men in Singapore to sponsor, not mentor, women in the workplace. And it's done over a walk. So there was a woman who saw Walk the Talk being promoted on LinkedIn. It might be my post, might be Lean In or somebody else, doesn't matter. This year, Walk the Talk is sponsored by a company called Digital Edge. And so she sees the logo Digital Edge and she pings her friend, who is the wife of somebody who works at Digital Edge. Okay.
Ah.
So she pings her and says, "Oh, look at this. Did you know?" Like, "Oh." And the wife didn't know. So the wife looks at it. The wife happens to be a marketing and communications person in a finance company. And she looks at it and she goes, "We should do something like this." And so she pings me and she says, "Can we have coffee?" And, I don't really always accept coffees. And I said, "Oh, what would you like to discuss?" "Oh, I'm curious what we could do together." So I meet her. Anyway, long story short, a few meetings later, we're discussing a brand partnership. So you just don't know
You
who's
never
going
know
to...
what's going to lead you.
Yeah. So I have this signal tracker in my AI so that I know what
You see the
posts
immediate
and what
effect of the post and what's working and what's not.
exactly what signal is it sending, what opportunities could it bring. And I think you'll be very surprised. Like, I write once a week on perimenopause, but a couple of women who have bought my 8-week program now found me because of perimenopause and then ended up buying another product. I'm
so the
always
visibility
curious.
can lead to then
Yes.
interactions and business and new opportunities.
And I think the best exercise we ever do is for every customer we get that's significant, we find out what is the buyer journey. How did you first find us? What was it? Right? Because sometimes you have to see somebody a few times, which is why doing a podcast
and how many
is great.
interactions did you need? How much exposure did you need to the brand before deciding? I want to talk a little bit about all of the fantastic work that you do with women and helping women in leadership. You talked a little bit about Lean In. You talked a little bit about the walk the talk.
Yeah.
But so many women, very, very capable women and leaders, remain quite invisible in the workplace. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'll speak for myself as a former invisible woman in the workplace. I felt that good work should reward itself. And that if I work really hard, just like my parents did or taught me to do, that people should notice, right? Isn't that their job? Isn't that why they're paid so much? That they should be able to spot good talent and know what to do with them. Unfortunately, the world doesn't work that way. And if you don't promote yourself, it's this whole idea of if you don't first help yourself, how can others help you? I think the same logic applies here. You have to be your biggest champion for others to then champion you. And I think the friction is that for women, everything that we're taught to be careful growing up, everything is so inward looking versus outward, right? Even how we are built is inward, right? Versus for a man, it's all outward, right? So to put ourselves out there is very uncomfortable and it feels wrong and it feels like we are boasting, we're so full of ourselves, we are arrogant, who does she think she is, right? So it's very uncomfortable. And I have come to learn now as a self-professed introvert, and I mean that in the sense that I get my energy by being alone. And when I'm socializing, it's very selective social engagements. If I'm going to speak it to a big crowd, I'd be crawling and watching Netflix by myself right after that, right? So that's what I mean by being an introvert. It really starts by, do you feel you deserve this thing that you want to go after? And I am a believer that life has dreamt big dreams for us. And I think our number one job is to go figure out what that is. And whatever dreams we have for ourselves right now, it's not even as big as what the universe has dreamt for you. And so I want to go find out. And I am not going to find out by staying in the corner and being invisible. I have to make myself known to people so that the opportunity, like we just talked about, comes to you. Now, you can say no to it, but it's not going to even come if they don't know you exist. And so this is the huge years of work of discomfort that I've had to
Because you really have to overcome a lot of things in yourself.
Yeah. And by the way, having some big job with a 7-figure salary doesn't solve it.
It doesn't. I mean, I meet so many senior
Yeah.
people, and you do too, who say exactly the same things, that they feel uncomfortable promoting themselves on LinkedIn or speaking about what they've achieved. So it's something that affects everyone. And it comes down a little bit to your self-belief as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, you're such a shining example of what people can do.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. And I know
Yes.
you've been developing some courses also to help people to become more visible on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Absolutely. And I think we believe, Jingjin and I believe, that platforms like LinkedIn is really about using it in the way that serves you best. And for every person, that is different. For an entrepreneur, maybe it's to get business. If you're a coach, you're looking for a very specific client. You know, if you're a self-employed lawyer, you're looking for a different kind of client. If you're working in corporate, you want to make sure other corporates know you exist so that maybe they hire you. Maybe you want to speak, you know, maybe you want to do other things, who knows? But how do you make those things happen really comes down to understanding how the platform works. And because we spend so many hours on it ourselves, I mean, you have no idea how many times Jingjin and I have debated whether or not we teach other people LinkedIn. And then we were like, we spend so many hours on this.
You've got so much you can share.
On this platform. Who else would teach it? But we care about conversion. We're not the people who are going to give you followers, so impressions, because those things don't pay the bills.
So I want to challenge you a little bit, because a lot of women say there's sometimes it feels a little bit inauthentic and they don't want to share all of their vulnerabilities on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And a lot of posts do, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But some people do not feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So is there a way to still be out there and be authentic and not share your vulnerabilities? What's your perspective on that?
I think it depends what vulnerability means, because I think vulnerability without boundaries is a whole other thing. It's oversharing.
Right. Yeah.
I think you can be honest. So, for example, if I'm posting a photo to say, I've been made redundant, by the way, would somebody call that vulnerability? Because the way I wrote the post was, here are the lessons that I am now thinking through for myself. I am just sharing in a very objective way.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not painting myself as a victim. I am processing my thoughts in a very objective way, and I'm choosing to share it, which is a very scary thing to do.
Scary but powerful.
Yes. And I have come to know for sure that there is nobody in this world that is experiencing anything that other people cannot relate to.
Absolutely.
You are not alone.
Absolutely.
And I think the more that you can tell your own story, every person has their own audience. There is no competition. The people that will resonate with you may not resonate with me, right? And sometimes there's an overlap. Just think about all the people you follow on social media.
Yeah.
You're following quite a few. And there's a reason you gravitate towards them. And you keep watching their content. There's a reason sometimes you switch up their content too. There is oversharing on the platform. I wouldn't recommend it for a platform like LinkedIn because it's your professional network. So the first decision to make is to ask yourself, where is your audience hanging out? And for most professionals, it is LinkedIn. And so if LinkedIn is the answer, then that's the place to start. And if you haven't done a post in a really long time, a first great post is, why haven't you posted in a very long time? And to just speak the truth.
Yeah.
And I think what helps is to not do it alone. And that's kind of what Jingjin and I are trying to do, is like, let's all do it together. So you don't feel alone.
Safety in
There's
numbers.
somebody holding your hand.
Yeah.
You know, there's somebody who can check for you, right? And I've given myself this barometer of discomfort, right? So for the people I coach to get on LinkedIn, when they write something, I'm very brutal in reading it because we're in this age of attention and noise, right? So
You've got to cut
if I
through.
can't feel who you are in this post, you should not put it out there, right? If somebody else can copy and paste your post, that's not a good post, right?
Could be anyone.
Yeah. So I always go like, okay, on the scale of 1 to 5, how uncomfortable are you to post this? It's like, oh, well, it's a 3 or a 4. It's like, okay, it's not uncomfortable enough. Go back and rewrite it. I want to hear a 6. And then I promise you it's going to be a great post. I use that for myself. I don't have to do it so much now, but when I was just starting out, like I just kept posting. I mean, I would post and then close the tab.
I mean, I always felt you were very brave with your posts because they were so authentic and so real. And you said the things that people think but don't necessarily always say. So people could relate to it. And I think you did people a service, actually.
Yeah. Not having a corporate job and title maybe contributed to the bravery as well. So yeah, I think that helped.
And what do you think separates leaders who do the right thing on LinkedIn and get the visibility to a leader who doesn't know how to use LinkedIn properly?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we use LinkedIn for today is announcements. Or I just came back from kickoff.
Or I'm humbled to win this award.
Yes,
or
yes. Mostly women say that. Yeah. Humbled and grateful to receive this award. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Obviously, you deserved it. So a lot of announcement posts, I think, is standard.
It's very standard.
But I think social is your new CV. And the way to demonstrate your thinking outside of your CV is to demonstrate a point of view. And an announcement post isn't going to demonstrate that. It's really saying, today, for example, I talked about how uncomfortable it was for me in the beginning that I would write a post, click post, and then close the tab. And it happened for months. But I forced myself to write every single day. And, here were the things that I learned about myself in that process. And, other people feel this way, and I'm just going to say it. Yeah. But this is my point of view on this topic. I have points of view on workplace politics or, speaking on stage or the age of disruption or perimenopause. So I think points of view is what is going to differentiate people. And by all means, use AI. To help you. I think we should be using AI as much as we can so that we focus on what only we can do. Make sure it's your voice and you've trained it to do your voice and you do all the edits. I spend an hour just to edit, for example. Yeah. So I think that's the difference. Announcements only. There's the 0, I do nothing. And then the announcements only. And then the ones who do, here's my point of view on this topic. It's the leaders who, in times of restructure, would be willing to go out and say something different to what the comms people have prepared for them.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about that, actually. Yeah. Is there unconventional or slightly different way that people could be reacting now on LinkedIn, people who've been made redundant? So there's obviously a big wave of, especially in the tech industry, people losing their roles. How can people stand out a little bit on LinkedIn? Are there any unconventional ways, any tips or recommendations that you have?
Look, the number one fastest way to get visibility on LinkedIn is by commenting.
Oh, really?
But don't just comment on anybody's post. Okay. Right? So if you are a person whose job is at risk, or you've just been made redundant, or maybe you're in transition, and you want to start building that career insurance. I call, it's like this is the best career insurance, being visible on a social platform. Is to think about who are the companies and the people in those companies that could be your future stakeholders or future employers. And then go to their page and turn on the bell so that when they do post, because a lot of them don't post often, but when they do post, you get a notification and you comment thoughtfully. Yeah. Don't say great post or I agree. Have a point of view. Because now when you comment, comments have impressions. And that's the number one fastest way to get there. And then obviously if you write on LinkedIn in addition to commenting, that's just really, really powerful. I guarantee if you do it 3 times a week for at least 30 days, you'll be surprised at the DMs you will get. And again, don't post the stuff that people can copy and paste. Tell the stories that you were the only person in the room for.
And just building on that, do you think as leaders now we all need to be content creators? Is that part of our job now?
I think that the fastest way to build trust, which remains the most important currency in any relationship, so let's take that into a workplace context, is long form content.
Oh, okay.
Right? If I am going to buy a product from somebody, or, just yesterday, somebody asked me for a recommendation of a speaker. I had spoken at their event as a keynote speaker last year. They were looking for somebody different this year, asked me for a recommendation, probably came to me because this person saw a LinkedIn post from me.
Right.
So thought about me, because you can't remember everybody. But if I keep showing up on people's feeds, they think about me. So I said, well, why don't you have a look at this person? And just so happened that this person showed up on my podcast 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So I said, go watch this video. She's on the second half. And then you tell me if this is a speaker for you. But if this person didn't have a video, how would that person make a decision? Oh, my best friend who was looking for a coach. And I said, well, why do you want a coach? What are you trying to learn? And then she found this company that was going to do it and say, well, who are the trainers? Because forget the company, it's the person. And then I tried so hard to find, a video of them. There was only one. And it was one on YouTube. And I sent it to her. And it was so dry that she was like, no, these are not the people to help me. So I believe in the future, CEOs are going to show up on YouTube in order to recruit talent. So keep going with the podcast.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. Actually, I recruited a leader in my India business at Dell because I heard her on a podcast.
Yeah, there you go. You got to see in action, right?
Yeah.
There's so much about long form content because I can watch you for an uninterrupted set of time.
You really get a good impression of someone. Yeah,
I get a sense of who you are as a person. You're probably going to be the same when I meet you.
Yes.
And by the way, if you're reading off a script or you're not yourself, I can also tell.
Exactly.
So really, I think long form content is really powerful. Text is currently the most powerful because when you Google search something, what it's pulling is text. And that's why LinkedIn text is so important. And so even if you post a video, you must always write the content of the video
and
on text so it shows up in search.
Oh, we're really learning the tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
So we are going to move into a rapid fire round of questions. So I've got 3 questions. Just give instinctive answers very, very fast.
Okay.
So you've had quite a few reinventions in your life and, lately into entrepreneurship. So what matters more for reinvention, clarity or courage?
Courage. I think you need to have courage to get clarity.
If you had to start again tomorrow, what would be the first thing you'd do?
Like start from zero?
Start from zero.
Okay, so let's say I have no money at all and I'm starting from zero. I would sell my coaching.
Oh, okay.
And I would start building a community for free. So I would try and gather people, provide services. Just get people to come together around a topic and then get them all into a WhatsApp group. Get those people to invite more people the next time. I try and meet once a week. I have no money, right? So I'm going to have to build this fast.
Build it fast.
More and more people. I would write and put content 3 times a day on social media, right? Once on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. That's what I just film myself on the phone, all my points of view and get it out and have a single call to action and, give my mobile number away. If I'm desperate for money, that's what I do.
Okay, good. Good tip. What's one thing you know now that would have changed everything earlier?
That ugly and scrappy gets money. Yeah.
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Yeah. We've built a 6-figure business around ugly and scrappy.
Uma, thank you. That was such a powerful conversation and a very honest one. So thank you very much. And to everyone listening, if something in this conversation resonated, please take a moment to reflect on where you might be ready to reinvent. Because reinvention doesn't start with a big move necessarily, it starts with a decision. If you enjoyed this episode, do like and subscribe to Reinvention by Design for more conversations with leaders who are building new paths, new income streams, and new ways of working. And remember, your greatest security is your ability to reinvent.